Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. Today we start another topic talking about The Power of Your Mind by Napoleon Hill. Are you ready? Let's start together. The human mind is a composite of many qualities and tendencies. It consists of likes and dislikes, optimism and pessimism, hatred and love, constructiveness and destructiveness, kindness and cruelty. The mind is made up of all these qualities and more. It is a blending of them all, some minds showing one of these qualities dominating and other minds showing others dominating. Learn how to use that wonderful mind of yours. The dominating qualities are largely determined by one's environment, training, and associates, and particularly by one's own thoughts. Any thought held constantly in the mind, or any thought dwelt upon through concentration and brought into the conscious mind often, attracts to it those qualities of the human mind which it most resembles. A thought is like a seed planted in the ground in that it brings back a crop after its kind, multiplies and grows. Therefore, it is dangerous to allow the mind to hold any thought which is destructive. Such thoughts must sooner or later seek release through physical action. Through the principle of autosuggestion, that is, thoughts held in the mind and concentrated upon any thought will soon begin to crystallize into action. If the principle of autosuggestion were generally understood and taught in the public schools, it would change the whole moral and economic standards of the world inside of 20 years. Through this principle, the human mind can rid itself of its destructive tendencies by constantly dwelling upon its constructive tendencies. The qualities of the human mind need the sunlight of nourishment and use to keep them alive. Throughout the universe, there is a law of nourishment and use which applies to everything that lives and grows. This law has decreed that every living thing which is neither nourished nor used must die. And this applies to the qualities of the human mind which we have mentioned. The only way to develop any quality of the mind is to concentrate upon it, think about it, and use it. Evil tendencies of the mind can be blotted out by starving them to death through disuse. What would it be worth to the young, plastic mind of the child to understand this principle and commence to make use of it early in life, beginning with kindergarten? The principle of autosuggestion is one of the fundamental major laws of applied psychology. Through a proper understanding of this principle and with the cooperation of the writers, philosophers, school teachers, and preachers, the whole tendency of the human mind can be directed toward constructive effort inside of 20 years or less. What are you going to do about it? May it not be a good plan, as far as you are concerned individually, to wait for someone to start a movement for general education along this line, but commence now to make use of this principle for the benefit of you and yours. Your children may not be fortunate enough to receive this training in school, but there is nothing to hinder you from giving it to them in your home. You may have been unfortunate in that you never had an opportunity to study and understand the principle of autosuggestion when you were going to school, but there is nothing to hinder you from studying, understanding, and applying to your own efforts this principle from now on. Learn something about that wonderful machine which we call the human mind. It is your real source of power. If you are ever to free yourself of petty worries and financial want, it will be through the efforts of that wonderful mind of yours. Your editor is still a young man, yet he has positive evidence in many thousands of cases of the transformation of both men and women, from failure to success in remarkably short periods of time, ranging all the way from a few hours to a few months. The magazine you hold in your hands is concrete evidence of the soundness of the argument that the individual can control his economic destiny, because it is a success which was built out of 15 years of failure. You can turn your past failure into success. If you will understand and intelligently apply the principles of applied psychology, you can get to wherever you wish to go in life. You can find happiness instantly. Once you master this principle, and you can build financial success as rapidly as you comply with the established practices and principles of economics. There is nothing that savors of occultism in the human mind. It functions in harmony with the physical and economic laws and principles. You do not need the assistance of any person on earth in the manipulation of your own mind, so it will function as you want it to. Your mind is something which you control, no matter what your station in life may be, provided always that you exercise the right instead of permitting others to do so for you. Learn something of the powers of your mind. It will free you of the curse of fear and fill you with inspiration and courage. How to attract people to you through the law of retaliation. To achieve fame or accumulate a big fortune requires the cooperation of your fellow men. Whatever position one holds and whatever fortune one acquires must, to be permanent, be by sufferance of one's fellow men. You could no more remain in a position of honor without the goodwill of the neighborhood than you could fly to the moon. And as for holding a big fortune without the consent of our fellow men, it would be impossible not only to hold it, but to acquire it in the first place, except by inheritance. The peaceful enjoyment of money or position surely depends upon the extent to which you attract people to you. It does not require the far-sighted philosopher to see that a man who enjoys the good will of all with whom he comes in contact can have anything within the gift of the people with whom he associates. The roadway, then, to fame and fortune, or either, leads straight through the hearts of one's fellow men. There may be other ways of gaining the goodwill of one's fellow men except through the operation of the law of retaliation. But if there is, this writer has never discovered it. Through the law of retaliation, you can induce people to send back to you that which you give to them. There is no guesswork about this, no element of chance, no uncertainty. Let us see just how to go about harnessing this law so it will work for us instead of against us. To begin with, we need not tell you that the tendency of the human heart is to strike back, returning stroke for stroke every effort, whether of cooperation or of antagonism. Antagonize a person and, as surely as 2 and 2 are 4, that person will retaliate in kind. Befriend a person or confer upon him some act of kindness, and he will also reciprocate in kind. Never mind the person who does not respond in accordance with this principle. He is merely the proverbial exception. By the law of averages, the great majority of people will quite unconsciously respond. The man who goes about with a chip on his shoulder finds a dozen people a day who take delight in knocking it off. A fact to which you can easily subscribe if you have ever tried going about with a chip on your shoulder. You need no proof that the man who carries a smile on his face and who always has a word of kindness for everyone he meets is universally liked, while the opposite type is just as generally disliked. This law of retaliation is a powerful force which touches the whole universe, constantly attracting and repelling. You will find it in the heart of the acorn which falls to the ground and, in response to the warmth of the sunlight, bursts forth into a tiny sprig consisting of 2 small leaves which finally grow and attracts to itself the necessary elements to constitute a sturdy oak tree. No one ever heard of an acorn attracting to it anything except the cells out of which an oak tree grows. No one ever saw a tree which was half oak and half poplar. The center of the acorn forms affinities only with those elements which constitute an one tree. Every thought which finds abode in the human brain attracts elements after its kind, whether of destruction or construction, kindness or unkindness. You can no more concentrate your mind on hatred and dislike and expect a crop of the opposite brand than you could expect an acorn to develop into a poplar tree. It simply is not in harmony with the law of retaliation. Throughout the universe, everything in the form of matter gravitates to certain centers of attraction. People of similar intellect and tendencies are attracted to each other. The human mind forms affinities only with other minds which are harmonious and have similar tendencies. Therefore, the class of person which you attract to you will depend upon the tendencies of your own mind. You control those tendencies and can direct them along any line you choose, attracting to you any sort of person you wish. This is a law of nature. It is an immutable law, and it works whether we make conscious use of it or not. How great fortunes are made! Mr. Carnegie has passed away, leaving a fortune of several hundred millions of dollars after having given away many millions. Thousands of people there are who envied Carnegie his millions. Many more thousands there are who have puzzled their brains trying to think out some plan or scheme through which they could build up a fortune such as the one which Carnegie possessed. Let us tell you how Carnegie built his fortune. Maybe it will give you an idea that will help you in building yours. In the first place, it is well to remember that Carnegie was not possessed of more ability than the average man enjoys. He was not a genius, and he did nothing which almost any other man could not duplicate. Mr. Carnegie accumulated his millions by selecting, combining, and managing other men's brains. He realized early in life that any undertaking such as the steel business required more talent than any one man possessed. He also realized that most industries and businesses require at least two types of men, one the caretaker and the other the promoter. Carnegie selected the men he wanted, organized them, directed them, and kept them enthusiastic and eager to render the greatest amount of service. He got them to cooperate with one another and with him. No man can build a fortune such as that which Carnegie controlled without the use of other men's brains. The amount which a single brain can produce, accumulate, and own, acting independently of other brains, comparatively little, but the amount which one brain can accumulate and control when acting in harmony with other highly organized minds is practically unlimited. If you want to become wealthy, learn how to attract to you men and women who have that which you do not possess in the way of brain capacity. If you are of the promoter type, select your associates so that some of them at least will be of the caretaker type. A well-rounded out partnership or organization of men, to be successful, must be made up of men who possess all the requisite qualities essential for success. Some men can acquire but cannot conserve assets. Other men can conserve but cannot acquire. The two types, working in harmony, can both acquire and conserve. Many a business has grown sickly and finally passed into bankruptcy for no reason other than the fact that it was managed by men who had too much of one sort of talent and too little or none at all of other necessary sorts. Business requires something more than capital with which to succeed. It requires well-balanced brains, made up of the various shades and blendings of the caretaker and the promoter type. The greatest age in history. This is no time for the person who believes only that which he understands. Neither is it a favorable time for the person who doubts the ability of the human mind to look behind the curtain of time down the ages and there see the handwriting of nature. Nature is yielding up her secrets to all who wish to see. She no longer uses the lightning in the clouds to scare ignorant, superstudious humanity. That force has now been harnessed. It pulls our trains, cooks our meals, drives our wheels of industry, and carries the whisper of our voices around the earth in the fractional part of a second. Electricity is exactly the same force now that it was 300 years ago. Yet we knew nothing about it then except that we believed it was only destructive. We did not know that it would one day serve as man's greatest servant, obediently carrying out his commands. We did not understand electricity. Therefore, we made no attempt to master it until recent years. We know comparatively nothing about electricity now, but we have commenced to experiment with it, and that is a step toward discovery of what it is and what it will do when we learn more about it. Electricity now carries the human voice around the earth. One day, it will carry the human body to any given point with speed heretofore undreamed of. Our method of harnessing electricity is now very crude. We shall learn how to manipulate, regulate, and control this universal energy through a process as simple as that through which we now draw water out of a spigot through the aid of gravity. How can we discover the possibilities of electricity? How can we tap this great reservoir of energy and use it at will? We can do this only through experimentation, through the use of imagination. This is decidedly the age of imagination, inquiry, and experiment. The human race has begun to throw off the shackles of fear and doubt and take hold of the tools of progress which have been lying at our feet throughout the ages. The present is the most wonderful age in the period of history of the human race, wonderful not only in its mechanical development, but also in its mental development. We have not only discovered how to fly in the air, swim under the ocean, and talk around the earth, but we have discovered the cause of all this achievement, the human mind. The last 50 years have been the most active period in the world's history as far as discovery through science is concerned. The next 50 years probably will take us as far into the development of the human mind as the past 50 years have taken us into the mastery of physics and mere mechanical devices. Quit quarreling with your fellow men. The time and energy which we spend in striking back at those who anger us would make us independently wealthy if this great force were directed toward constructive effort to building instead of tearing down. It is the belief of this writer that the average person spends 3/4 of his or her lifetime in useless, destructive effort. There is but one real way to punish a person who has wronged you, and that is by returning good for evil. The hottest coals ever heaped upon a human being's head are acts of kindness in return for acts of cruelty. Time spent in hatred not only is wasted, but it smothers the only worthwhile emotions of the human heart and renders a person useless for constructive work. Thoughts of hatred do not harm anyone except the person who indulges in them. Whiskey and morphine are no more deleterious to the human body than are thoughts of hatred and anger. Lucky is the person who has grown to be big enough and wise enough to rise above intolerance, selfishness, greed, and petty jealousies. These are the things which blot out the better impulses of the human soul and open the human heart to violence. If anger ever profited a man anything, this writer never heard of it. Great souls are usually housed in human beings who are slow tanager and who seldom try to destroy one of their fellow men or defeat him in his undertakings. The man or woman who can forgive and truly forget an injury by a fellow man is to be envied. Such souls rise to heights of happiness which most mortals never enjoy. How long, O God, how long will it be until the human race will learn to walk down the pathway of life, arm in arm, helping one another in a spirit of love, instead of trying to cut one another down? How long will it be until we learn that the only real success in life is measured by the extent to which we serve humanity? How long will it be until we learn that life's richest blessings are bestowed upon the person who scorns to stoop to the vulgar attempt to destroy his fellow man? I know that this plainness of speech makes them hate me, and what is this hatred but a proof that I am speaking the truth? This is the occasion and reason of their slander of me, and you will find out in this or in any future inquiry. Socrates. Thanks you guy for watching this video.